Yeah, I get a lot of that, a lot of questions every single year, as long as I can remember, family, friends, students, professionals, all of it. It isn't just that you're pairing wine with food, you're pairing wine also with the people coming to dinner. And a lot of people possibly coming to dinner don't really know. They don't really even know what they like. So you're really trying to find some wines that may have and offer diversity. And that's usually my approach. So I just got asked this question a day ago, maybe 2 days ago. Well, okay, we got to bring, this person's bringing two wines, this person's bringing two wines. What should we get? Well, you want to do whites, reds, sparkling. We want to do two whites and two reds. That's easy. I'm not even thinking about the food. I'm thinking about altering in terms of the style of wines that you're going to choose to bring. And, of course, they talk about the word typicity. You want to bring, why don't you go ahead and bring a nice, light, crisp, refreshing Sauvignon Blanc? Why don't you bring a nice, big, buttery, rich Chardonnay? Why don't you bring a very adaptable, light-bodied red, such as a Pinot Noir? And go ahead, for some of those, we're going to want really a big, bold, concentrated red, big tannin, big mouthfeel, such as a Cabernet Sauvignon. So we usually kind of stick to the big six grapes for kind of purposes of this because they're most recognized, most accepted, most known. So, I mean, just in that, you're offering diversity because if you really think about the Thanksgiving meal, there's a lot of everything. I mean, in my household, we've got, of course, no different than most Midwesterners, we've got sweet potatoes, yams, we've got green beans, we've got turkey, gravy, stuffing, dressing, but then we have these Greek dishes. And all of that together, to be honest, how do you pair that? You just need something adaptable. And ultimately, what is most important is that the people like the wine and they're happy with it, so I would suggest those. I'd suggest kind of going diversity. But if you really want reds, light reds tend to be the most adaptable. So a Gamay, so if you might know the name Beaujolais, Beaujolais Nouveau, very popular in the grocery stores this time of year, but Beaujolais-based wines, also Pinot Noir-based wines would be great.
And I like that, and you're right about the versatility of Beaujolais. And yes, it's a fun ceremonial wine that basically marks the harvest, and it's nothing more, nothing less, right? But it does have a lot of versatility in it. I have a couple of questions that I want to get to. Challenges with some of the pairings: roasted Brussels sprouts with bacon, blue cheese, and balsamic. I'm going to say beer.
No, so oftentimes you got these crazy things that are traditionally difficult to pair. Like, right, if somebody wants a soup, how do you pair a soup? Soup is liquid, right? It can be paired. Or people talk about, well, salad. How do you pair a salad? Actually, in our level 2 program, we actually do a tasting that is all about dispelling myths. People say you can't pair red wine with salad. That's not true. You just have to think out the process. So I try to dispel those notions. So when you have complicated dishes such as the one you described, it's like a lot of everything on there. It sounds wonderful. It sounds intense. Things with bubbles are very forgiving and very adaptable. So that's one thing. I would also suggest pink wines with bubbles are very adaptable and very forgiving. And then, of course, there's going to be people that come over that probably don't like wine. So beer is very adaptable, especially dealing with, some of the light domestic lagers that most people are prone to. They're very adaptable. So, I mean, I would suggest wines with bubbles. I would suggest pink wines. I would suggest light-bodied reds. And also when you have difficult ingredients like really salty stuff, really acidic things, tart acidic white wines can go pretty well as well. But I mean,
what's an example of it
like that? It's a hard thing to answer because it's such a huge topic. It's a very precise thing, but it deals with really specific ingredients, which leads to a larger conversation. But that's my sort of overall advice.
What's a couple examples of tart acidic white wine?
So if we use the big 6 grapes as a sort of foundation, I always teach with the big 6 grapes because they're the most recognized, and then we branch off with other lesser known varietals. So if we say the big 6 grapes, there's 3 whites and 3 reds. The 3 whites in order of typical progression of body from lighter to fuller would be Sauvignon Blanc, Riesling, Chardonnay. Now keep in mind, there are so many exceptions to this. We're talking typical body progression. There's always exceptions. I know, like I've had a light-bodied Chardonnay. I've had a full-bodied Riesling. I get it. But this is a typical normal progression of his starting point. And then 3 reds are Pinot Noir, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, in a typical progression of a building of body.
And tart acidic whites?
I'm sorry. Yeah, to answer your question, Sauvignon Blanc is a great example. Pinot Grigio is a great example. Pinot Gris, same as a Pinot Grigio, different name, same grapes, different location. A Gruner Veltliner, I would suggest an Albarino, Muscat possibly.
Okay.
You start getting into these kind of branches of less known grapes, but if you want to know the most famous, we would say crisp acidic, or I call it crisp and youthful white wine, would be a Sauvignon Blanc. And
you had me at Albarino and Gruner Veltliner.
Yeah. And so, that's the idea is like, we start with those big 6 because those are most known, but then you got to start branching off because not everybody wants to drink the same thing, right? People want to explore.